Welcome to the high-stakes world of combat sports, where you're only as good as your last fight. In the blink of an eye, a fighter's career can shoot to superstardom or crash and burn into obscurity. In the UFC, where every match unfolds under the watchful eyes of the company boss, the pressure to perform is through the roof. Some fighters seize their moment, others stumble, becoming cautionary tales for the ages. Yo, what's poppin'? It's your boy Luke Too Sick, back in the lab, back with another list video coming from the world of the UFC. And this is 5 performances that got UFC fighters cut. Just one of the many content we're bringing to you guys. So if you haven't, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment below. Make sure you let me know what you guys think about this list, because it's going to be a goodie. All right, diving into the unforgettable flops that got UFC fighters cut from the company. It's going to be a good one, baby. Remember, keep those hands up. Yo, today we kick off the list like we've done all the others, with the man who inspired it all. And today's headline maker, well, that's none other than Mohammed Mokaev. And if you've been living under a rock, let me catch you up. Mokaev, the undefeated Russian MMA sensation, boasted a perfect 7-0 record in the UFC and a 13-0 record in his career. Yet despite his flawless fight record, he's now out of a job. What happened? The drama started when Makhachev and his opponent Makhachev made headlines for all the wrong reasons by brawling backstage. This wasn't an isolated incident either. Their beef dates back to the UFC Performance Institute. At UFC 304, they decided to squash their problems and take a picture together. But just 2 seconds later, Makhachev sucker punched Kape. It was not a good look, and needless to say, a massive headache for the UFC. When the two finally fought in the Octagon, it was a 15-minute snooze fest. Makhachev wrestled and nearly cheated to maintain his position during one of the rounds. Add this to a series of poor business decisions by his camp, and after the fight, Dana White didn't mince words, wishing the Russian luck on his future endeavors.
He's not under contract anymore.
Okay, but would you be interested in keeping him around in the fall?
I think the PFL is going to get a great undefeated guy.
Really?
Good luck to him.
Desperate to return, Mokaev even offered to fight for free and expressed remorse for his behavior in an interview with MMA Junkie. But his attempts to join other promotions have also hit a wall, with PFL President Ray Sefo rejecting him outright. Now, despite his fall from grace, Mokaev still hopes that he'll be in the UFC again one day. But he had a dream of becoming the youngest UFC champion ever, and with all this happening, that doesn't seem like it's gonna happen. All right, guys, the story of the next fighter on the list, well, this is a case that if you blink, you maybe have missed it, man. This guy's career was snatched away faster than some dude's phone at a sketchy house party. Let's be honest. It was 2020, and on some low-key UFC fight night card, Max Rohskopf, a Las Vegas native, finally got his shot in the Octagon. But man, that dream, it turned into a nightmare quick. Max was matched up against another up-and-comer, Austin Hubbard. But from the jump, it just wasn't Max's night. Something was off. By the second round, my guy went to his corner and straight up told his corner to stop the fight.
You're gonna beat this guy, Max. We got this. You can't beat this guy. Listen, listen. No, we got this, Max. Okay, stop it. Stop it. We got this.
But his corner, well, they weren't hearing any of that. And yo, as a coach, man, I know you're supposed to motivate your fighter to keep going, but someone's got to tell him to read the room. He told his corner to stop the fight a wild 9 times. Finally, the Nevada Athletic Commission had to step in and call the fight after that second round. Max had verbally quit on the stool, and just like that, his UFC career was over before it even started. And of course, UFC President Dana White, in classic fashion, well, he did not hold back. The UFC, they cut ties quickly with Roskopf right after the fight.
So when you get here, this is a whole different level, man. And that guy's not ready, and he might not ever be ready. And some of us, and I've told you guys this many times before. I believed one day, that, back in the day, that I was a fighter and I wanted to do this and that. And one day I found out that I wasn't. The realization was that I wasn't. When you find out, you need to walk away, and you need to. I'm not saying that's the case with this kid, but if that kid felt like he needed to quit tonight, who the is anybody to judge him on that?
Yeah, you just heard it. Dana White gives Max his flowers, but also sneaks a jab in there at the same time. But here's where it gets deep. Max later sat down with MMA Fighting, and he opened up about the real struggle he's faced his whole life, and that's a struggle with mental health. I've been self-sabotaging my whole life. Shit got hard in my fight with Austin, and I looked at my coach and said, I don't want to be here anymore. Not because I didn't want to fight, but because I didn't think I belonged. And it's wild to see a dude as talented as him get caught up in his head, but sometimes that's just how it is. Max's UFC journey was short-lived, no doubt, but he's still out here trying to find his way. Since leaving the UFC, he's gone 2-1, though he took an L in his last fight. A UFC comeback? That's not looking too hot right now, but at least Max is still out here grinding. Max's story is really a reminder that sometimes the real fight in someone's life is not happening in a cage. Instead, that's happening in your own mind. All right, the next entry on our list, well, this is a rare one, y'all. You might see it, I'm hinting at it right now. Well, the next entries on our list, y'all, 2 fighters got cut after their performances in this fight. Former WWE star CM Punk stepped into the Octagon on June 9, 2018 at UFC 225 for the second time. His first fight, a total disaster, but this one was supposed to be his shot at redemption. Instead, what we got was awkward, weird, and not in a good way. Punk, who was hyped up from his days in the WWE, was out here looking like a deer in the headlights, showing little improvement from his first fight. And Jackson? Dude had some boxing and kickboxing experience, so everyone expected him to finish this quickly and call it a day. But nah, what we got instead was 3 rounds of Jackson playing with his food. He threw light strikes, barely went in for the kill, and at times even taunted Punk like they were in someone's backyard and not a UFC pay-per-view. My guy was showboating, throwing wild bolo punches, and acting like he was bored fighting an unworthy fighter. At the end, fellow fighters, fans, and even UFC's top brass were heated.
You get this opportunity to come in and fight CM Punk, and you're doing like bolo punches to the body on top. Never looked like he was trying to finish the fight ever. Never tried. I don't know what that guy did for a living before we gave him the shot, but whatever it was, he needs to go back and do that again.
And as if the fight wasn't bad enough, Jackson tested positive for weed afterward, turning his W into a no contest. Bruh, like this fight didn't already have enough clownery going on. As for Punk, this fight just showed that MMA wasn't his lane. His striking, rough. Grappling, even worse. And his cardio? Nah. Dude was gassed out, and it was clear to everyone that while Punk had heart, the skill just wasn't there. Alright, so what happened after this hot mess? Both Punk and Jackson, well, they got the boot. Jackson, who got the win, well, that didn't count anymore, and he hasn't seen the UFC since. For Punk, things have been pretty good. He's back doing what he does best, and he's wrestling in the WWE, and some can say that he's probably the biggest he's ever been. Regardless, Dana White wasn't playing around, and he had to let them know, this ain't no celebrity fight league, and if you come in here playing games, you get handled quicker than a CM Punk takedown attempt. Alright guys, the final fighter on our list, that man was a top 5 fighter in his weight division, and because of a split second of misjudgment, he might be one of the biggest what-ifs in UFC history. Paul Daley was on the fast track to UFC stardom in 2009. He came into the company tearing it up in the welterweight division, knocking out Martin Kampmann in his debut and then sending Dustin Haslett to Nap City right after. Everyone was hyped. He was next to get a title shot. Then came his fight with Josh Koscheck at UFC 113. These dudes hated each other. The build-up was filled with bad blood with plenty of trash talk from both sides. But once they got in the cage, it was a different story. Koscheck wasn't trying to strike and instead wrestled Daley easily the whole night, cruising to an easy decision victory. Less than spectacular for the fans, but tragic for Daley. That's because when the final bell rang, Daley's frustration got the best of him. Koscheck had been running his mouth and Daley wasn't having it. So as the fight ended, Koscheck was all smiles. Daley walked up and sucker punched him. Koscheck didn't even see it coming. And yo, for this, Dana White, my man wasn't playing at all. He came down on Daley hard, not only cutting him, but hitting him with a lifetime ban.
I don't give a shit if he's the best 170 pounder in the world. He'll never come back here again.
We're talking Paul Daley.
Yeah.
You're cutting him from the UFC.
Yeah. He'll never come back.
Jeez, and Dana wasn't bluffing either. Daley hasn't stepped foot in the UFC since then. No matter how much success he had outside the UFC, fighting in Strikeforce, Bellator, and even throwing down with big names like Nick Diaz, Jorge Masvidal, and much more, he was done with the UFC. That sucker punch might have been a split-second decision, but it cost Daley everything in the world's biggest promotion. Dana's message was clear. You can be as skilled and as promising as you want, but one reckless moment and it's game over at the highest level. Alright y'all, there you have it. 5 performances that got UFC fighters cut from the company. It's a high stakes game. One bad night, hey, as I showed you, that can cost you anything. It doesn't matter how talented you are, how big your name is, or how much hype you've got behind your name. If you slip up, Dana White's gonna send you flying faster than a Jorge Masvidal flying knee. And that's just the way it is. It's brutal. That's why the game is so captivating. It's Lou Too Sick. Let me know what you guys thought below. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. We got so much more coming. Keep those hands up.
Every time I wake up, shit feel the same. Got a million thoughts and they weighing on my brain. Sipping on my favorite liquor just to ease the pain. Cause I feel like I'm crazy and desperate need to change. Making plans to move and talking state to state. Talking pounds and haze, medical high. Ray, look how my eyes stay. What more can I say? How dare a nigga tell me that this rap won't work?